Wonders of the Philippines. Amazing places where cultures meet. 7,600 islands, separate communities, yet migrants and traders kept crossing the water. A Spanish-rooted Creole and hand-built mountain farms reveal what those crossings created. No single coastline could set the terms for the whole country. Volcanic slopes, typhoon corridors, coral seas, and mountain walls forced communities to develop different ways of farming, trading, worshipping, and governing. Foreign rule and regional commerce did not erase those differences. Each port, upland, and fishing ground reshaped new influences through local hands. I want to understand why the country's deepest strength comes from this constant exchange without losing local character. In this video, we follow communities across Luzon, the Visayas, and Mindanao to see how spectacular terrain carries a larger story about people, connection, and what must now be protected. Mayon's near-perfect cone was built by the same force that keeps Albay ready to move. Rising about 2,500 meters, it is the Philippines' most active volcano and the peak of the Bicol volcanic arc. Deep below, tectonic subduction generates magma. Repeated lava and fragmented volcanic material built the symmetry admired across the province. But geometry also channels pressure. Steep slopes can steer lava, rockfalls, fast hot currents, and rain-driven lahars toward farms, roads, and towns. Cagsawa preserves that record. An 18th-century Franciscan church was left in ruins by the eruption of 1814. Its bell tower and masonry remain. The tower beneath the cone is not decorative foreground. It records what the land can produce and what it can take away. Yet communities remain because fertile volcanic soil supports farming, while farms, roads, and livelihoods bind towns to the mountain. Leaving is not a simple line on a hazard map. So preparedness has become local infrastructure. Warning bulletins, evacuation plans, closures, and restricted ground shape ordinary decisions long before an emergency begins. The 6-kilometer permanent danger zone sets the hardest boundary. When unrest rises or heavy rain strikes loose volcanic material, current FIVOLC's bulletins and official closures overrule every familiar route and scenic plan. Nearby, the irregular green cones of Quitinde Hills break Mayon's severe symmetry. Together, they show why roads, fields, and settlements in Albay must follow the shape and limits of the ground. I find Albay's strength not in denying the mountain, but in organizing life around facts that cannot be negotiated. Warnings become meaningful when farms pause, roads close, families move, and work resumes without forgetting why. Beside Mayon, preparedness is a practice repeated before every crisis. The world's largest fish has made a coastal town build tourism around a promise it cannot make. Whale sharks, known here as buttanding, usually enter Donsol Bay from November to June, yet no boat is guaranteed a sighting. Their schedule belongs to plankton, currents and migration, with encounters often most frequent from March through May. That uncertainty is not a flaw in Donsol's model. It is the discipline that keeps the animal, not the photograph, at the center. Boats carry trained local crews and butanding interaction officers, many linked to fishing families. Their knowledge of these waters now guides wildlife tourism and supports research. Before anyone enters the bay, the rules establish a hard boundary. Remain several meters away, never touch, ride, feed, or block a whale shark, and use no flash. The restraint matters because size does not remove pressure from busy water. There is no feeding schedule to manufacture certainty, and no protected title can replace conduct on the water. Researchers add another layer without controlling the animal. They photograph spot patterns beside the gills, so one individual can be distinguished from another. Donsol sits within the Ticao-Burias Pass protected seascape, more than 400,000 hectares linking Sorsogon, Albay, and Masbate. That scale looks formidable on paper, but a boundary cannot stop every propeller, piece of fishing gear, chemical, or crowded encounter. A migrating animal crosses local boundaries, so protection depends on crews, researchers, fishing families, and visitors holding the same line. Donsol has put local sea knowledge in command, not on display. Donsol's model works by refusing certainty. Income follows the animal's movement rather than forcing the animal to follow income. A river bright enough to look exposed is fed by passages no one can see. Near Hinatuan, the enchanted river rises from a karst spring above submerged channels and a deep cave, setting a clear blue pool against an uncharted source. Depth, clear water, and shifting light intensify the cobalt color. The hidden route also explains why local legend took hold, where measurement met uncertainty. Protection now draws a firm line around the spectacle. Swimming is barred in the main pool, allowed only downstream, and access pauses during scheduled fish feeding. Those limits matter because the water is not a stage set. Local rules make tourism yield before the spring carries too much. Near Bislig, Tinuyan Falls spreads almost 100 meters across 3 main tiers. Rainfall controls its weight, while slick rock and river current control how close people may go. The tourism nickname, Niagara Falls of the Philippines, sells scale, but misses the fact. This curtain belongs to a living forest and watershed. The Pacific coast applies a harsher force. At Lazuitan Lagoon, seasonal Amihan waves clear a limestone wall and drop into the sheltered side, creating a waterfall only while wind and sea align. Rough water can close that performance. Caguate's curved bay offers the counterweight, a quieter edge on the same exposed province. Then the route turns inland and roads lose their reach. Agusan Marsh expands and contracts across lakes, channels, peat, and swamp forest within the Agusan River floodplain. Boats become working transport, and some homes rise above or rest upon the water. Fish nurseries, water birds, and saltwater crocodiles share a wetland that is also a neighborhood. Drainage, waste, and disturbance can disrupt the floods that hold it together. The marsh endures only while homes, boats, and flood cycles remain fitted to one another. "16 Apo Island residents sat at a management table and began one of the reef's strongest defenses. In 1982, they joined the first reef committee. By 1994, national protection covered roughly 700 hectares of land and surrounding water. Apo itself covers just 74 hectares, yet more than 4 decades of coral and fish surveys have made its reef an influential case in community marine management. Dumaguete is the gateway, but not a resort capital. Its waterfront, old belfry, and Silliman University give the crossing the character of a working university city. The decisive exchange joined resident knowledge with marine science. Surveys tracked coral and fish over decades, while islanders managed the place that supported their lives. That alliance changed livelihoods as well as rules. Guiding and carefully controlled tourism brought income, giving the community a direct stake in keeping fish, coral, and access intact. But protection did not make the reef invulnerable. Powerful cyclones damaged parts of the sanctuary in 2011 and 2012, while warming, careless contact, and crowded visits still apply pressure. Green turtles may graze close to shore, but they are not performers on a schedule. Their uncertain appearance is part of the discipline this place demands. Small outrigger boats run on the sea's terms, not a fixed promise. A rough crossing can reorder the day before anyone reaches the island. And arrival does not grant ownership. Apo is a lived-in community where local guides, closed zones, distance from turtles, and feet kept off coral protect both reef and income. Apo's achievement is not untouched nature, but a compact alliance that has survived storms, livelihood change, and 4 decades of scrutiny. Knowledge, work, and restraint remain bound together. The wave that made Siargao famous breaks over a reef, but the island's real defense grows from mud. At Cloud 9, Pacific swell forms powerful barrels. Around Del Carmen, one of the country's largest connected mangrove areas helps low-lying communities absorb wave energy. That contrast explains Siargao beyond the surf label. Fishing villages, coconut land, tidal flats, reefs, and mangroves support lives tourism alone cannot carry. At Magpupunco, the sea controls access with a different clock. Low tide exposes rock pools. High tide and rough water cover them and can make entry unsafe. In Del Carmen, mangrove roots do several jobs at once. They shelter nursery habitat, store carbon, and weaken waves before reaching exposed settlements. These forests function as coastal infrastructure within a seascape where boats connect communities, fishing grounds, and Sugba Lagoon. Sugba's closure each year from January 10th through February 10th makes the trade-off explicit. Recreation stops so the lagoon can recover. Masin River carries another correction. The bent palm made famous by its rope swing fell in February 2023. Its familiar image now outlives the landmark. Far greater pressure arrived in December 2021, when Super Typhoon Odette severely damaged homes, utilities, and tourism infrastructure across Siargao. Rebuilding now meets a slower squeeze. Waste, freshwater demand, coastal construction, and concentrated visitor traffic. More rooms and boat traffic deepen that pressure, drawing harder on finite island capacity. By Siargao, the bargain is clear. Access can support livelihoods, but growth can also consume the reefs, rivers, and mangroves that make access possible. The next test is not whether Siargao can rebuild again, but whether growth leaves enough fresh water, reef, and mangrove to blunt what comes. A narrow island carries one of the Philippines' largest urban economies, yet its cultural force still runs through port work, roadside shrines, fishing towns, and reefs. Cebu City grew around a major harbor, while the Spanish arrival in 1521 still registers 5 centuries later in worship, street ritual, and public memory. Magellan's Cross and the Basilica Minore del Santo Niño preserve the marks of the Spanish arrival. Yet the Santo Niño image remains a focus of living devotion. During Sinulog, faith leaves the sanctuary and takes over the street. Trade brought foreign power into Cebu. Local practice absorbed it and made it Cebuano. Colon Street bears an official marker, calling it the country's oldest, though Cebu historians dispute the surviving record. Even a street name becomes a contest over who defines the past. The port still pulls people, goods, and ideas into a major urban economy. Beyond it, mountain roads narrow into fishing settlements sustained by local skill. On the southwest coast, Kawasan Falls requires accredited guides because canyoneering means river trekking, swimming, natural slides, and fast changes in water. Rain can raise the current and suspend access. Those limits are not red tape laid over scenery. They make local knowledge part of the job and keep fast water under trained control. Off Bohol, a dense sardine aggregation gathers close to shore, but it is never a fixed display. The fish shift with predators, water conditions, and human disturbance. Oslab exposes a harder bargain. Feeding makes whale-shark encounters predictable, while research has recorded altered residency, diving, and habitat use in animals listed as endangered. Distance and photography rules, no touching, and accredited operators reduce immediate pressure, but cannot settle that conflict. Cebu's strength lies with people who keep exchange alive while deciding what must not be traded away. An island once named for fire is now too often sold through fear. The older name points to fireflies that made coastal trees appear to glow. Its modern mystique is frequently flattened into tales of witchcraft. That shortcut misses the harder truth. Local healers hold knowledge built from plants, massage, prayer, oils, and preparations, with inherited practice often meeting Catholic observance. Around Holy Week, gatherings bring some practitioners together. But this knowledge is not automatically a public show, and any filming depends on consent. The island is most compelling where belief becomes disciplined work, guarded by the people who carry it. In Lazi, a centuries-old balete tree stands beside a spring-fed pool, carrying stories of spirits but no scientifically established exact age. Nearby, the stone San Isidro Labrador Church and its large convent preserve another kind of belief, one built through Spanish period religion and local labor. Cambugahay Falls drops through 3 main tiers, but access to swimming and rope swings changes with water conditions and local rules. That limit matters because Siquijor is compact. A coastal road binds villages, beaches, dive areas, and marine sanctuaries into one tight corridor. Easier movement brings access, but it also compresses tourism's burden. Groundwater is limited, reefs are vulnerable to contact and anchors. Waste has nowhere distant to go. So Siquijor's real test is not whether it can keep its mystery. It is whether access can expand without stripping healers of consent, reefs of protection, or villages of control. The Island of Fire endures because its people do more than preserve old names. They decide what may be shared, what must be protected, and how the island remains theirs. Water sets the terms in Samar. Pacific weather drives heavy rain through soluble limestone, feeding rivers, forests, and one of the country's broadest karst landscapes, making the island's chief pressure one of its greatest resources. At Baysay, boats follow the Sohoton River beneath a forested limestone arch and toward caverns opened by slightly acidic rain. This is Sohoton Caves and Natural Bridge Park, not the similarly named cove in Siargao del Norte. Farther inland, Langun Gobingob belongs to the vast Calbiga complex, described in the Philippines' UNESCO submission as the country's largest cave. Underground streams cross immense chambers lined with stalactites and stalagmites. But scale brings strict terms. Slippery rock and fast-changing water demand local guides, helmets, lights, and equipment built for unstable footing. These caves and forests are working watersheds and habitats, not empty adventure ground. Flooding, waste, extraction, and uncontrolled entry can damage structures formed over geological time. The same wet ground reaches households through skilled hands. In Basay, artisans gather tikog reeds, then dry, dye, and weave them into patterned banig mats. That chain turns a river environment into work, income, and inherited design. Samar's cultural resilience is clearest here. Geographic pressure becomes craft. On the western edge, another answer rises above moving water. The San Juanico Bridge carries the crossing for more than 2 kilometers over a narrow current-swept strait to Leyte. It held the national length record until the nearly 9-kilometer Cebu-Cordova Link Expressway opened in 2022. Records change. The need to connect islands does not. Guides, weavers, boat crews, and bridge traffic reveal the archipelago's paradox. Water imposes risk and separation, then becomes the route through which work, knowledge, and connection endure. These mountains hold farms on slopes that should shed both soil and water. Around Batad, roughly 1,100 meters above sea level, families keep paddies fed by upland forests, narrow channels, and walls rebuilt through every planting cycle. This is not one monument. It is a working chain of forest, water, field, village, and labor. If one channel blocks or one wall slips, pressure passes downhill and reaches other families. UNESCO listed 5 representative clusters in 1995. Batad and Bangan are the 2 within Banaue. The designation protects no frozen relic. It recognizes a landscape that still has to produce food. The famous claim that every terrace is 2,000 years old hides the harder truth. The tradition is ancient, but archaeology shows that fields appeared and expanded at different times, as Ifugao communities reshaped the mountain to meet changing needs. Tinawan heirloom rice is harvested once a year. That slow rhythm ties engineering to household income, seed knowledge, ritual, and hudhud narratives carried through community life. Yet fewer hands remain for work that never stops. Out-migration and weak farm income pull labor away, while erosion, drought, and intense rain weaken the ground itself. In November of 2025, a landslide damaged part of Batad and its irrigation, exposing how one break can threaten fields far beyond that section. Conservation therefore begins with work, not admiration. Local guides, designated paths, permission before filming farmers or rituals, and purchases of local rice and crafts keep value with the people maintaining the terraces. That exchange matters because the terraces cannot continue as scenery alone. Farming knowledge must remain useful enough for another generation to carry it. Every intact wall is evidence of a choice repeated by hand. Clear the channel, reset the stone, plant again. Official maps cannot keep the island count fixed. The tide changes it without moving a single rock. Off Alaminos, the tally is 124 at low tide and 123 when the sea covers the smallest formation. The name 100 Islands is therefore an approximation. The shoreline changes with the water, and access changes with it. Across roughly 1,800 hectares of land and water, ancient coral limestone has been lifted, cut by rain, and undercut by waves. That pressure formed the cliffs, caves, and broad-topped profiles of Lingayen Gulf. It also left small surfaces vulnerable to construction and crowds. Protection began under President Manuel L. Quezon and later expanded into Lucap Bay. Uncontrolled building and intensive use could weaken the marine habitat. Today, Lucap Wharf organizes registration and authorized boat travel. Facilities stay concentrated on only a few islands, rather than spreading pressure across the whole park. That arrangement turns transport into conservation. Authorized operators follow designated stops, while weather can close routes without warning. An island visible across the water is not automatically open for landing. The sea sets one limit. Protection rules set another. The deeper value lies below the skyline. Coral habitat and restored giant clams show careful restoration where others might see only open water. Their recovery remains fragile. Anchors, trampling litter, and crowded snorkeling grounds can strip away growth that took decades to return. This is the archipelago's paradox in miniature. Water separates every limestone mass, yet boats, rules, and shared work bind them into one protected place. Conservation here depends on restraint, landing only where access is allowed, and treating a closed route as a working boundary. The park survives not when every island is reached, but when crews and visitors accept that some crossings must remain closed. Tourism packed visitors, buildings, and waste onto an island barely larger than 1,000 hectares. Boracay's 4-kilometer white beach made that compression profitable and eventually untenable. The calm western shore and wind-exposed Bulabog Beach face different physical forces. They share one compressed ecosystem with the remaining wetlands, so pressure placed on one part does not stay there. The island is also the homeland of the Ati, whose living culture and land rights predate the resort economy. That fact changes the frame. Boracay is not a product built solely for outsiders. In 2018, untreated wastewater, weak, solid waste capacity and construction across wetlands pushed the government to close Boracay to visitors for 6 months. Tourism had exceeded the island's basic plumbing and land limits. Reopening brought sewer connections, accredited accommodation, and tighter beachfront rules. These controls were not cosmetic. They forced tourism to operate within drainage and construction limits. Yet rehabilitation remains unfinished. Seasonal green algae can occur naturally, but excessive growth may also expose nutrients added by poor wastewater control. The island's beauty now depends on infrastructure that rarely enters the postcard. Functioning drainage, protected easements, controlled visitor numbers, and respect for residents. On just over 1,000 hectares, every failure crowds the same shore. Rules for entry, accredited lodging and regulated water sports are therefore part of conservation, not obstacles to it. Weather suspensions add another hard limit when conditions tighten. Boracay is the clearest warning. When tourism outruns drainage, wetlands, and resident rights, beauty becomes a maintenance crisis. Recovery remains incomplete unless UTI land rights and island limits govern growth. A town exposed to the full Pacific has turned repeated pressure into a protected cultural identity. At Sabang Beach, black sand and powerful swell support a surfing history now recognized by Philippine law. Baylor's best-known surf origin story remains lore. The familiar Apocalypse Now account does not appear in the law, keeping legend separate from public record. The coast is only the front edge of Aurora. Behind it, the Sierra Madre catches rain, gathers rivers, and feeds forests that shape movement between shore and interior. Aurora Memorial Park began in 1937, expanded 4 years later, and received its present name in 1949. Its legal area covers nearly 6,000 hectares. Those changes show government redrawing territory that never lost its local meaning. Aurora remains an indigenous homeland for Alta and Dumagat communities. That fact changes what responsible filming requires. Consent and credit keep living people from being reduced to decoration beside a beach or forest. Baylor Church holds another layer. The long confrontation of 1898 and 1899, later fixed in national memory through landmark status. Ermita Hill carries an older warning from the destructive storm of 1735. The town's record is not a string of attractions. It shows communities rebuilding under Pacific pressure. Farther inland, Ditumabo Falls belongs to San Luis, not Bala. Its stream crossing trail makes geography practical. Water shapes both the destination and the terms of access. Those terms can change fast. Pacific weather and mountain rain can alter roads, rivers, and trails. So current Pagasa and local advisories, local guides, and protected area rules carry real weight. Across Aurora, as across the archipelago, resilience is not isolation. It is the capacity to absorb crossings and change while keeping local knowledge, consent, and limits in command. A sandbar that appears fixed can change shape between one tide and the next. Off Palompon, Kalangaman Island exposes a slender bar to waves, weather, and boat routes controlled by sea conditions. The open horizon hides strict limits, little natural shade, scarce fresh water, and departures that depend on the water. Registration, capacity, swimming and waste rules protect ground that cannot absorb careless use. Below the surface, coral reefs, tropical fish, and sea turtles share water that also supports fishing and boat work. Conservation and livelihood occupy the same coast. Digyo, one of the 4 Cuatro Islas, offers white sand and rustic facilities on a smaller scale. Reef contact, litter, freshwater use, and changing weather impose the same limits. History adds another pressure. From October 23 to 26, 1944, the fleet action in Leyte Gulf became the largest naval encounter in recorded history and sharply reduced Japan's ability to mount major fleet operations. At Palau, larger-than-life figures at MacArthur Landing Memorial Park marked General Douglas MacArthur's return on October 20th. Monumental scale fixes a turning point to an exposed shoreline. That coast met a different force in November 2013 when Super Typhoon Haiyan overwhelmed the province. Storm exposure and evacuation planning remain lived knowledge, not an abstract warning. Near Ormoc, Lake Danao Natural Park sits within cooler, forested mountains. Kayaking, picnics, and birdwatching place recreation inside an upland environment rather than on the exposed coast. Farther south, the Agus Bridge carries traffic nearly 90 meters above a landslide-prone section of southern Leyte. Recognized as the country's highest bridge, its real work is the road. The former zip line is not operating. Tides, reefs, storm tracks, unstable slopes, and wartime memory all enter Leyte's daily decisions. Connection continues only because that reading never stops. A coast surrounded by water can still run short of the water that keeps a town alive. In 2026, a severe shortage placed Puerto Galera under a state of calamity, even as tourism remained open. That contradiction defines this northern edge of Mindoro, where sheltered coves meet the deeper currents of the Verde Island Passage. The clear sea draws attention, but the real structure extends far inland. UNESCO recognized this landscape in 1977 as a biosphere reserve, not a World Heritage Site, and not a promise of permanent safety. Across nearly 15,000 hectares, coral reefs and mangroves connect with grassland, farms, dipterocarp forest, and mossy uplands. Each habitat carries pressure into the next. Coastal construction and heavy tourism constrain reefs and fresh water far beyond a single beach. A biosphere reserve must therefore do two jobs at once. It must protect habitat while leaving room for communities to work, adapt, and earn. In Tabanay and Dulangan, local partners turned that principle into roughly 5 hectares of protected mangrove and sea in 2015. The boundary supports habitat protection and community-based ecotourism, tying local income to the condition of the coast. Puerto Galera added another control in 2026, an electronic visitor pass linked to the environmental fee. It is a small piece of civic engineering, built to make a crowded destination account for the pressure it creates. The harder rules govern behavior: qualified operators, respect for dive limits, careful freshwater use, and access to Mangyan culture by invitation rather than display. The electronic pass can count arrivals. Only sustained restraint can keep those arrivals within the freshwater and habitat Puerto Galera has left. Postcards reduce Caramoan to an island escape. Beyond that exposed coast, an inhabited biodiversity area spans nearly 190 square kilometers and climbs above 1,000 meters. The national park covers only about 350 hectares. Created in 1938, the national park is not the wider conservation area, nor the full island hopping destination. Confusing them erases the scale of the peninsula. Four kinds of rock: limestone, sandstone, marble, and shale break the peninsula into caves, gorges, an islet lake, and a subterranean river. Mangroves hold the margins, forest grips the steep interior. This rough geology controls movement. Trails, landing points, and boat routes must work around rock, tide, and tropical weather. Wind and heavy seas can still cancel crossings. What the postcard leaves out is more important. Caramoan is not empty scenery. Families farm plains and coconut land, fish the surrounding water, maintain trails, and run the boats that connect visitors to the islands. The same livelihoods also meet hard limits. Older assessments recorded selective logging, shifting cultivation, and household fuel wood collection, while the difficult terrain itself kept parts of the forest beyond easy reach. Tourism shifts the pressure toward beaches, reefs, and concentrated landing points. A place once protected partly by difficult access now has to manage the traffic that better access creates. Local guides and authorized boat crews do more than move people. They turn uncertain crossings into local work and keep movement tied to knowledge built on this coast. Waste must leave with each boat, because narrow beaches and reefs cannot absorb a growing stream of visitors. The limestone draws the boats, but Caramoan's people keep this hard coast connected, working and culturally alive. An underground river runs for more than 8 kilometers through limestone toward the sea, yet visitor boats may enter only a controlled section. Near Puerto Princesa, that restriction protects vast chambers, mineral formations, and bat roosts inside a UNESCO-listed park shaped by tides, rain, and water levels. The cave is only one link. Above it, forest and karst connect upland drainage to mangroves and coastal habitat, so inland pressure reaches the sea. That connected terrain explains why Palawan cannot be treated as one continuous resort zone. Puerto Princesa, El Nido, and the Calamian Islands require separate crossings through distinct ground. Around El Nido, boat routes divide steep limestone islands into managed destinations. Weather, sea conditions, capacity limits, or rehabilitation can close a lagoon that looks effortless. Nearby, Ile Cave pushes the human record back roughly 11,000 years near the end of the last ice age. These shores held communities long before modern traffic. The northern route also corrects a common map error. Coron town stands on Zamboanga, while celebrated lakes and limestone formations lie on Coron Island, within Tagbanwa ancestral domain. A boat ticket alone does not grant command there. Access to Kayangan Lake and other sites depends on local rules and community authority, not a claim that it is Asia's cleanest lake. Barracuda Lake makes the island's hidden structure physical. Fresh water sits above salt water, and divers crossing the layers can feel temperatures climb from the low 30s to nearly 40 degrees Celsius. Off Zamboanga, Japanese ships sunk during a United States Navy raid in 1944 now support marine growth. Enclosed spaces, low visibility, sharp metal, depth and currents demand certification and proper training. Across Palawan, permits, guides and weather limits protect more than scenery. They keep authority with the communities whose ground visitors enter. Batchoy and scallops tell two sides of Iloilo, a city recognized through food and islands, still dependent on what small boats can bring home from a hard sea. In 2023, UNESCO named Iloilo the Philippines' first creative city of gastronomy. Far to the northeast, Gigantes Norte and Gigantes Sur anchor fishing settlements in open water. The city's food culture was built by trade, farms, and domestic kitchens. Heritage churches, plazas, and commercial buildings still stand beside the places that feed daily life. La Paz Batchoy carries one identity. Pancit Molo carries another. Despite its name, it is a dumpling soup, proof that local culture often keeps exchange but rewrites the form. The province then changes scale. Limestone, tide, and distance tighten control around the Gigantes Islands, where weather can stop boat access altogether. Scallops and other fisheries support both tables and livelihoods. The link is direct. Fishing communities work within the limits of wind and waves. Tangkay Lagoon fills with the tides. Cabugao Gamay holds the familiar hilltop view, while the ruins of a Spanish-period lighthouse station stand beside a modern light. These landmarks look permanent. They are not insulated. Super Typhoon Haiyan damaged homes and boats in 2013, exposing how quickly island income and access can be interrupted. Pressure now comes from waste, extraction, and concentrated tourism, while reefs, endemic forest species, and small communities carry the cost. Some sites may close for rehabilitation. Registered operators, life jackets, and waste returned to the mainland are not minor formalities. They keep recreation from pushing extra risk onto fishing settlements. Even the tales of giants belong here as cultural memory, not proven archaeology. Across Iloilo, exchange becomes local culture only after it is rewritten through kitchens, fishing work, boat rules, and memory. Market speech carries centuries of migration across a single Zamboanga counter. In Zamboanga, Chavacano joins a largely Spanish vocabulary to Philippine language structures, making everyday speech a record of repeated contact rather than a colonial relic. That mixture runs through the city. Indigenous, Moro, Sama, and colonial histories meet here, but none can explain the whole place alone. Even the name points seaward. Zamboanga is associated with the mooring places of seafaring communities, while the long title City of Flowers survives in streets brightened by bougainvillea, the local name for bougainvillea. Fort Pilar gives that crossroads physical weight. Built in the 17th century near routes linking Mindanao, Basilan, and the Sulu archipelago, it now carries a shrine and museum through later layers of community memory. Offshore, Great Santa Cruz Island turns its pink shoreline into a conservation test. Red organ pipe coral fragments mix with pale sand, and each fragment removed diminishes what remains. Landing, swimming, and mangrove visits are regulated. Coral and sand must remain. The rule is blunt. Access continues only when nothing is taken away. Along other shores, bamboo stilt houses in Samar communities show a tougher form of coastal knowledge. They are working homes shaped by maritime life, not preserved scenery. At once islas, meaning 11 islands, access is managed with communities of Panubigan and Dita. Moro and Sama Banguingui culture is not decoration there. It helps determine how visits happen. Paso Balong pushes the city's scale higher. Sadiq Grand Mosque, with one central dome and 4 minarets, was already receiving worshippers while final work continued in early 2026. Its intended capacity is about 45,000. Zamboanga's monument is its people, building one city while keeping distinct speech and customs. A southern metropolis opens onto a mountain that no single boundary can contain. Mount Apo rises nearly 3,000 meters above the Philippines, while its protected landscape spreads across almost 55,000 hectares in Davao, Davao del Sur, and Cotabato. Davao City is more than a trailhead. It is the gateway where metropolitan life meets ancestral high country. Kadayawan gives that meeting a public form, presenting the distinct traditions of 11 ethno-linguistic communities. It does not flatten them into one culture. Difference becomes part of the city's shared strength. Its slopes climb from agricultural edges through montane and mossy forest, then break into volcanic rock and sulfur vents. The Philippine eagle and other endemic species depend on those changing belts. The land also carries sacred and ancestral meaning for indigenous communities. Their rights are written into the law governing the park, placing human history inside conservation rather than outside it. Protection, however, does not stop pressure. Fire, forest conversion, waste, and concentrated climbing can still strain ground that recovers slowly. Apo also remains potentially active under the National Volcano Agency's classification. That doesn't signal an imminent eruption, but the sulfur and rock confirm that deep forces remain at work. An annual ecological off-season closes trekking and camping for part of August, giving stressed routes and habitats room to recover. When access resumes, permits, registered guides, daily limits, current security advice, and local weather decisions control movement. Conservative pacing and zero-waste camping reduce what each ascent leaves behind. the summit is not the final authority. Indigenous rights, ecological off-seasons, and the distinct voices gathered in Kadayawan determine how the mountain is entered and represented. More than 1,000 grass-covered hills rise across central Bohol, yet not one is a volcanic cone. The broader Chocolate Hills Formation contains more than 1,200 mounds, shaped from ancient reef limestone that was lifted, fractured, and slowly cut by rainwater and erosion. Their color supplies the famous name. During the dry season, the grass turns brown while the limestone structure remains hidden beneath it. Bohol's great landmark is therefore a record of pressure, not eruption. Water worked on raised seabed until the island took its present form. Bohol's icons repeatedly invite the wrong reading. Another Bohol emblem is far smaller and far more sensitive. The Philippine tarsier is a nocturnal primate adapted to cling and leap through forest vegetation. Its large eyes are sensitive to light, so responsible viewing demands silence, no flash, and no touching. A proper facility does not force the animal into a staged encounter. Along the Lobok River, cruises pass villages with live local music aboard. Tourism gives performance a market, but also raises the question of who directs the exchange. Spanish period churches hold another layer of Bohol's history in stone. The 2013 earthquake exposed the vulnerability of historic masonry and the communities responsible for carrying that heritage forward. On Panglao, Alona Beach supports swimming, snorkeling, and diving, while early boats may encounter wild dolphins. Neither sightings nor sea conditions can be promised. At Bohol Bee Farm, organic growing is promoted through vegetables and edible flowers, with produce also coming from local growers. For roughly 2 kilometers, Bilar's man-made forest covers the road, but it is mainly introduced mahogany, not intact native forest. The harder work is keeping distinctions intact. Hills are not volcanoes, tarsiers are not props, and a mahogany plantation is not native forest. Tourism must answer to those facts. The Philippines cannot be understood as scenery divided by water. Its real strength lies in communities that turn distance into contact. And outside influence into local practice. But that strength is not automatic. Resorts crowd shorelines, warming seas weaken reefs, heavy rain cuts roads and strains old terraces, careless labels flatten distinct peoples into one marketable image. My takeaway is plain. Conservation must protect the relationships that keep a place alive, not only the view that sells it. Access rules, marine limits, ancestral rights, and local authority are not barriers. They guard against cultural loss. I see the archipelago's cultural vitality as a national asset. In an age of faster travel and harder environmental pressure, places will endure only by protecting both the land and the people who give it meaning. Continue with this series as spectacular landscapes open onto the deeper story. How communities preserve cultural strength while trade, tourism, and climate pressure reshape the ground around them.